Hi everyone, Sarah Picaro. Today we're going to be talking about the experience of being emotionally depleted after living through a narcissistic relationship or a number of them. If you've realized that that is you and you're sick and tired of it and you're Googling and you're YouTubing things like this, what happens to victims of narcissistic abuse, or what is the truth behind narcissistic abuse? Because you're in this stage of knowing that you need to leave or having left and still experiencing the emotional trauma, chaos inside your mind because of the narcissistic abuse, you're probably wondering what to do about all of the harmful effects of narcissistic abuse, realizing that the ways that you're coping are not helping you and are further hurting you, and feel completely stuck in that. So if that's where you're at, I hope that you find some relief in this video today, and know that you're only going to find a certain amount of relief in any book and any video that you watch, because none of the books or videos truly allow you to connect deeply within yourself, with your unconscious mind. And that is where the damage that was done comes from. There's significant damage in every way and in every level, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, that occurs at the unconscious level. So you may feel better for a time understanding terminology around this, watching videos around this topic and subject, reading books about it, and perhaps being involved in support groups where you can vent. I want to caution you with that. When you do that for far too long, you begin trauma bonded with not only your emotionally abusive story from your past, but with others as well. Because empathy breeds connection, and it's important to have connection. We actually need it in order to survive. But when you're connected to the trauma of your story and continuing to re-experience it and relive it and reshare it with others and receiving empathy from that, that becomes your source of connection, but it also becomes the source of strengthening the trauma, the emotional, spiritual, and mental abuse that you're experiencing. So truly connecting with that inner pain unconsciously is what breaks the chains and allows you to actually move forward in your life, not continuing to watch videos, read books, and share your traumatic story from the past. And if that's really what you're looking for, I would love to invite you into our Transforming Past Pain to Present Power program, where you utilize the power of accessing your unconscious mind and the beliefs that you have developed about yourself from that emotionally neglectful and abusive past, from that traumatic past, from that relationship with the narcissist or the narcissist in your life that have led you to being where you are today. You will find links for that in the description below this video, or perhaps you're not looking for another program, you've done others, and that's just not the road you want to take. If you're looking for one-to-one work, I would love to connect with you and see if we are a good fit to work together one-to-one. So without further ado, let's continue on. So here's where I think is an important place to start, is admitting, right? It's the first letter of the English language and alphabet is A, admitting and accepting. And I'm not just talking about admitting and accepting they are a narcissist. If you're truly ready to transform and heal, you're turning that lens inward. You're admitting and you're accepting that you had a part and you had a role, and there is something within you that needs to be shifted, transformed, and changed if your life is going to, and taking the focus off of them and turning it inward, turning it around, and turning it on to you. So admitting and accepting that you had a part in all of this. And I'm not saying that you deserved any of that to happen to you. I'm not saying admitting that, but admitting your role in this, in your role in taking charge of moving your life forward and healing your life. They could give a you-know-what about you. But admitting and accepting that for yourself and taking charge for yourself and understanding what happened is you were psychologically manipulated and abused emotionally, spiritually, psychologically. A lot going on here when you experience childhood emotional neglect, which leads to narcissistic abuse, or you maybe don't even know what to start, but you know that your partner had narcissistic traits or tendencies, and you're understanding now that this is a form of emotional and psychological harm, abuse, and damage that was done to you, and accepting where you're at in life now, where you want to be, and that in order for you to get from where you are to where you want to be, you need change, you need transformation, and you're sick and tired of yourself and the emotional energy that you give away by pointing the finger at them and using that language and that verbiage. Well, they, and if they would just, well, them, and putting yourself in the game of not taking charge for your own life. So accepting and admitting that you're ready to do that will help you move forward. So let's understand the emotional and psychological harm and damage that is done. When a person is either raised with narcissists, raised experiencing emotional abuse or neglect, or in a toxic partnership, a narcissistic relationship, they begin to believe this distorted, jaded, and warped reality that that person or their partner has caused and created through manipulation. You probably heard the term gaslighting. That's exactly what it is. It's a distortion of your view of reality. So when a person is in that environment or in that kind of relationship, they begin to believe in that warped and distorted reality that that person created through lies, through half-truths, through manipulation, through love bombing, through abandonment, through stonewalling, through all of those things, and most importantly, lying and gaslighting. And you probably know that, but you probably have no idea what was a lie, what wasn't. And none of that at this point, if you're truly ready to move forward, should matter. You just understand that they lied and that they manipulated you, and that should be enough to fill that cup. But people who've been in that type of relationship and environment, they get trapped, they get caught in the cycle of abuse because they believe, like they believe with their whole heart, that that person really does love them, or they really, really wanted that person to love them, especially if this abuse originated in your childhood and it was from an absent or emotionally unavailable parent. That is a form and type of abuse. It's called childhood emotional neglect. I've got other videos on that as well. You want your parents to love you. There's not a single child on this planet that says, I don't want my parents to love me. You grow up and you realize your parents are warped and jaded and psychologically unavailable and disturbed, and they're going through their own things. But deep down at your core and your root, you want to be loved and accepted, appreciated for who you are without conditions from your parents. And that same inner core feeling occurs in all relationships. So it also occurs in the relationship with the narcissist. You want that person to love, accept, honor, admire, and adore you for who you are without conditions, because you tried your absolute best to be that for them. Now, almost every relationship, there's love with conditions, but you truly are a kind, caring, loving, nurturing, supportive, forgiving person, and you truly tried your best to love without conditions, and you wanted that which you gave to also receive. And there was no receiving, it was just giving. So in reality, narcissists have a very distinct lack of emotional empathy for other people and a very self-centered desire to be admired, which makes it extremely difficult for them to experience real love, because real love requires vulnerability, it requires authenticity, it requires genuineness, it requires acceptance of your shortcomings and your flaws and embracing them all, as that is part of the human experience. But narcissists reject that. They don't accept that. They don't admit it, and they don't see that they fall short in any way. And emotionally unavailable or abusive parents are the same way. So if you grew up experiencing that, you grew up being very familiar with that. And as an adult, chose partners with that very familiar experience because you felt that love, you felt that connection and called it love because unconsciously and internally it was another opportunity, another chance to receive that which you never had in that partner, that which you never had from that parent and that caregiver. So narcissists, whether they were parents or partners, can and do cause emotional damage and psychological harm to their partners. That is obvious. And they verbally, they emotionally, they mentally, they spiritually abuse them and coerce them in ways where they control and deplete that person's self-esteem. Talk to anyone who's been with a narcissist or raised by an emotionally unavailable and neglectful parent. Your self-esteem is shot, your self-confidence is shot, your self-worth is shot, your trust in belief in yourself out the window. When's the last time I ever truly trusted myself? So you begin to take on things that they do. You lie to yourself, you perhaps lie to others. You begin to stuff down that emotional pain and project it onto those that you do have good friendships and relationships with. And of course, the difference is you feel remorse, you feel bad, you feel guilty, but you may not circle back around and admit it. Who knows? It depends on where you're at in your stage and your journey to healing. But there's a complete depletion of self-esteem, self-worth, self-confidence, self-trust, self-belief. And notice that all those start with self. So you don't recognize yourself. You're very unaware of yourself. You realize that you're here, but you don't feel here. It feels really difficult to be present in any situations, which impacts every situation. It impacts your career, your job. You don't receive help that you need. So if you are struggling and suffering, perhaps in your work or your career, you bottle it up, you keep it in, and perhaps you do an incredible job at the job that you do, and people around you are telling you and praising you, but you have a very difficult time receiving that acceptance, receiving that praise, and truly letting it fill your cup because you internally reject it. You smile and you say thank you on the outside, but it's not received. Therefore, it doesn't make a difference on the inside because there's an unconscious belief that no, that's not true about me. So outwardly, you can smile and go, wow, thank you so much. That's really kind of you. But it just bounces off and who knows where it goes. But you know it doesn't go within you because it doesn't actually make you feel better. It actually makes you feel worse because now you feel like you're a fake and you're a fraud. And now you feel like you've got to level up this expectation that you've got to hold it all together. Because if you finally do fall apart and admit defeat and admit that you're suffering and struggling and you need help, they're going to think, what are you talking about? So actually can feel internally that it's doing more harm than good, and it often does. And that shows up physically. You begin to get migraines, knots in your stomach. You begin to able to just take sick days off of work because you're working 12-hour days where other people in that same position, or maybe working 8. So you're burning yourself out. You're emotionally, physically drained and exhausted. It's impacting your ability to sleep at night, and therefore all of your relationships, and most importantly, the health of those relationships, starting with the one that you have with yourself and with others. So being in a narcissist in every way is extremely traumatizing on every level. In the experience of being with a narcissist, you may likely find it that you develop symptoms of PTSD and symptoms of CPTSD or other illnesses like depression and anxiety. There are so many that go along with that. I've had people reach out and share that say they've started to develop fibromyalgia, tumors, like unexplainable things that tests and doctors don't know why or where it came from and don't know what to do about it. So after going through a relationship with a narcissist, whether it's from your upbringing or whether it's from your adult relationships and current life, not just your childhood life, the victim begins to feel this overwhelming sense of worthlessness at their core. And a lot of people will say, I get that. I've been there too. I hear you. It just takes time. It's absolutely untrue. It doesn't just take time. It's what you do with that time that can make a difference. But most people use that time to numb out, to stuff their feelings, to avoid their feelings altogether because the fear of what's going to come up if they have to face all of that becomes too much and it becomes overwhelming. Therefore, you believe it takes a lot of time and to recover from the psychological symptoms that resulted from this type of abuse. And most people believe they need to understand more about narcissism and more about all of those things in order to truly recover. And that's absolutely untrue. I'm living proof of that. The number of clients that I've worked with are also living proof. And if you don't believe me, I invite you to just go see their stories and see what they've said and their testimonials. They are available and ready for you to go look at now on my website. It just depends on the method in which you're trying to get there. So you can understand narcissism, but not have to get to the level of understanding it where you could have a PhD and write books about it yourself. Most often you're already there by the point where you get to realizing I need to do something about me because understanding about them is not helping or serving me. It's only keeping me stuck and bonded through the trauma of both of our pain, mine and theirs that was projected onto me. So narcissistic abuse, especially your own abuse and damage from it, impacts yourself and others in so many ways. You may begin to feel like you're the narcissist. You may begin to question and wonder it. You may begin to feel paralyzed and unable to move forward in your life because you don't know how to handle the emotional trauma that you're experiencing and enduring now because you have no self-esteem. If you only had self-esteem, if you only had self-confidence, if you only could actually trust yourself, follow through with the things that you are going to do. And that's what I call the P me. One of the sides of the P is procrastination. You say you're going to do something. For example, you do have friends who say, you know what, let's just go out. Let's go out, let's change, take your mind off of all this, let's just go have fun. And you know you need to get out because you know it's not good to be stuck at home and self-isolating and wallowing in this pity that you're experiencing. So you do go out and you either go out and all you do is sit there and just can't enjoy yourself, don't really have a good time, or you pretend like you do, or in an effort to have a really good time, you get so wasted. And then you beat yourself up the next day because you've secretly also been doing that at home as well. And you're experiencing all of this innerness that's going on and frustration and tension within yourself. And you don't know where to go. You don't know what to do, but you know you need to figure it out because there are so many triggers. And it seems like these triggers can come out of nowhere. Going out and having a good time with a group of friends who is supportive should not be a trigger for you, but often it is because you worry about them asking you about the situation and how you're doing and what's up with you. It's been a while since you've really connected and how is everything now? Or when's the last time you heard about the ex or your parents or whoever it is that you had that traumatic experience with. And you don't want to talk about it, so you shut down or you're unable to talk about it with completely losing it. So people who go through the trauma of living with or being in relationships with others who are emotionally unavailable, emotionally abusive, narcissistic people often experience problems like dissociation. They'll be there but not there. So they'll go out with their friends and they'll be there but not there, and then they come home and it's like the door opens and it just comes like a huge tidal wave over you. And so you stop doing things that are good for you because you're stuck in that fear and you don't want to when you're stuck in that cycle of, I can't even have a good time anymore with the things that I used to enjoy. And what's the point? So you feel like you get to the point of life where you question what's the point of anything anymore. So you may experience disassociating, you may experiencing completely checking out and having blocks of your life and time where you don't recall or you don't remember, or the inverse and the opposite where you remember everything vividly and you wish you could forget it. So that's because of the emotional connection or emotional detachment from what is going on. And that is a result of what is going on unconsciously. What is happening is that your body is giving you a protective mechanism, a coping mechanism, a way to help you. And sometimes that way is to help you repress, help you block out that emotional pain so that you don't have any more than you currently have because you feel like if I had any more, it would be too much. It truly would put me over the edge. So now you're just stuck with this fear. You're stuck with that stuckness and you hate it because there's like emotional warfare inside your mind. And are realizing you don't even enjoy reaching out to family or friends anymore, or others who are there to support you and help you, or feel like you have no one to go to. So you just self-isolate and then you self-medicate and you just get stuck in this downward spiral of shame and belief that this is the way it is and there is no way out. Because maybe you've tried other modalities that really only scratch the surface of what's going on within you consciously. And if you do that, you're scratching a 5% surface. Truly, because consciously, you're only working from 5% of what's truly going on. It truly takes getting to the very core and the very root of it, and the ways that this is affecting and impacting you in every level unconsciously. That's that 95%. When you get in there and you can get to the very core and root of it, what's going on, everything about your life changes. So if you were sick and tired of being someone who's tired of spinning in this hamster wheel of the emotional trauma caused by emotionally unavailable parents or narcissistic abuse, we would love to connect with you and know that this is not the way that life was designed to live, but it may be the way that you've been living for far too long now and been stuck in that, and you're ready to finally be free from it. So if that's you and you are ready and you've gotten to that A point, you're aware and you've accepted, I have a part in this, I have a role in this, not only in what I went through in the past, but in the future that I desire to create, then you're ready. So let's connect. You can find more information in the description below. And I look forward to speaking with you, possibly one-to-one, or seeing you inside of our program. All right, guys, that is it for today. And that's all. Goodbye for now.